Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Power of Positivity and Prayer podcast. We have a very special guest today, Brooke Rosenblum, one of my great friends. I've known her over 20 years.
That's right.
She's an entrepreneur, and I'll let Brooke explain a little bit about what she does.
Yes. So I'm almost like a jack of all trades. I'm a very creative lady. I'm a photographer, but I'm also a spiritual coach. So I work with crystals, essential oils. I'm an astrologer. And for my day job, I also sell insurance.
Wow. Multifaceted.
Very multifaceted.
How do you go from like healing people with crystals and to selling them life insurance? I guess kind of, life and life, it all goes together, right?
Exactly. And that's how I found purpose and meaning in it. I do a bit of life insurance, but also Medicare, and I love getting to work with older people. I used to, in my past, before doing portrait photography for creative entrepreneurs like myself, I worked a lot with newborn babies. And I love that I've worked with like the full spectrum of newborn babies all the way now to working with people in older age and
Amazing.
just making sure everybody lives a long, purposeful life.
Amen. I think one of the main reasons I have you on this podcast is because I know about your personality, how giving you are, how caring you are, how bubbly you are. Every time you have a smile on your face, you bring positivity and light into this world. And I think you're doing great things. So I want you to, I want to tell you to keep going.
Thank you.
Keep going on your path. And it's so important that we have more people like you and like me. And we have to spread this positivity. We have to be the light to this world, right?
I couldn't agree more. I feel exactly the same. And I think that it's one of those things where like attracts like. And that's why we've always been in each other's sphere,
Right. And so please, there's a power of positivity in prayer. I always ask my guests first thing is, what does positivity mean to you? And how do you use it in your daily life?
Well, when we think of positivity and we think of emotions like happiness, emotions are energy in motion, I like to say. And when we think of energy, right, there's like this really incredible spectrum. And through our emotions, we're able to access this full spectrum. And when we think of positivity, we think of light, we think of happiness, we think of joy, and this radiance that's like very high vibrational, right?
Right.
So I often like to look at my life from an outside perspective, especially when I'm feeling those lower vibrational frequencies in my life and I'm feeling fear or doubt, sadness, grief. And instead of judging those emotions and looking at it so black and white, I recognize that full tapestry and really give space and honor those emotions. But I see a lot of the challenges that are presented in life. We all go through tough times.
Definitely.
As opportunities to learn more, to really gain more wisdom and insight. And that brings it back to the positivity piece of I really like to see the world as like the glass half full. I'm that kind of person.
Of course.
So
Optimism.
Being optimistic is so important for me. And I just don't know how I'd operate otherwise. It's just kind of how I'm hardwired. It's not something that I feel like could be easily taught, but I do imbue that into all my teachings and everything that I share and that I do, because when you can be that light, you can be that joy and being that happiness, it's not just for the likes on social, right? It's like because you really want to create an impact in other people's lives, because we all go through struggles. We all go through hard times, but then to see people who go through adversity and to see that they overcome that adversity and that they can still be joyous people, there's so much to learn from that, right? And I really aim to be one of those people.
Beautiful. I think it's so important, like attracts like you said, and light attracts light, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
if you are being a light in this world, then you're going to see more light. You're going to see more positivity if you are a positive person. It's all a reflection. People that you deal with and, you meet every single day, they're going to radiate what you radiate out, right? They're going to reflect back. If you have a smile on your face and you see someone in the store and you say, oh, nice shirt, or how's your day? Then they're going to ask you, how's your day? And compliment you back, right?
Yes.
And you're not doing it to get a compliment back. You're just doing it out of genuineness.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always seen in you, that you are a genuine person. So explain, if you could,
Mm-hmm.
your process of being positive. Is it a
Mm-hmm.
process? Because I know that it's not just like you wake up every day and you're positive. And
Mm-mm.
how long have you been going on their process, and are you still working through it?
Absolutely. So I think that it aligns a lot with my own spiritual awakening. And I think that I have to say as a side note, I'm extremely spiritual. I grew up in a Jewish household. I don't know if you know this actually. My mother was a cantor, and
Wow.
as was her father.
Wow.
So I grew up in a very Jewish household, but due to a lot of things that I had endured in my younger years, I definitely lost sight of religion and being consistent and even caring.
Of
I
course.
was very angry with God for many years as a teenager and like in my younger years.
Yeah.
And through my own spiritual awakening, as I like to say, it was definitely I'd say my early 20s. I had moved to New York and I was pretty much alone there. I had my sister, but I had no friends. And it was a time for me to discover myself.
You looked
And
within.
I really did look within. And it was during that era of my life when I started to learn a lot about crystal healing and spirituality. I started to read cards for myself, and all of it just became this beautiful web of interconnectedness as I started to find more purpose
Yeah.
in life and a lot of peace within myself. So, in saying that, it's been a journey for sure. I'm going to be 35 in the year of 2025, so coming up really soon.
When this
And
podcast will be released.
right, exactly. So I'll be 35 at that point, and I think now it's like what half my life I've been devoted, and this sense of devotion is what it looks like for me. Is if I do wake up each day, I think each of us have our own daily rituals, right? And they don't look exactly the same for me. I kind of am like a I need to see how I'm feeling and see what time I have. It's like we're busy people in this modern day age,
Definitely.
right? But for me, that looks like sitting with my altar. I have an altar with the beautiful crystal grid, and I love to say affirmations. So it's very similar to prayers, right?
Right.
Or I write down in my journal affirmations, and I'll check in with myself. I'm very attuned to my physical body, but also my emotional body. And I love to consider like through, are you familiar with the chakras, the chakra system?
Yeah, yeah. In Kabbalah, we actually talk about the chakras.
Love that.
We talk about
Exactly.
all the Keter and the,
Mm-hmm.
all the different parts of the body, and
Mm-hmm.
it's all kind of, energy centers
Yes.
and light.
Yes.
And then basically, when you reach ultimate awakening and enlightenment, your top chakra, I forgot what the name is, but it
Yes.
Keter, I think, or Bina, it might be, and
Mm-hmm.
it just explodes with
Mm-hmm.
knowledge and wisdom and just understanding, and you just go on a different level.
Yeah, it's like ultimate compassion
Right.
and understanding.
Right.
Absolutely. So I refer to that as like my own inner guidebook because I understand if I'm feeling certain ways or there's certain things that feel off in my life, I'm able to use this source of wisdom as like, okay, what is it that I need to help balance my energy out,
Right.
right? So if I'm feeling unsafe in the world, I know that that's very like root chakra, right? And I'll have certain affirmations or certain things that I'll eat, certain activities that I'll do, like
Wow.
going and getting grounded outside. Like
Yeah.
that's, very balancing for the root chakra. So those are very practical ways that I kind of weave my sense of spirituality and my devotion to myself. Like there's very practical ways that I go about it.
That's
Mm-hmm.
incredible. I think that's it. Like very, very useful tools that you're giving
Yeah.
people, because everyone has their different things. Like you said, no one can just, not every day is going to be the same, right? No one can
Mm-hmm.
just say, I'm going to spend an hour in the morning doing all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
walking outside,
Mm-hmm.
affirmations, praying,
Mm-hmm.
thinking about my day, thinking
Mm-hmm.
about yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
preparing for the day,
Mm-hmm.
getting ready, and then going to work, and then doing
Mm-hmm.
everything. So I think for us and anyone who's listening to this, find what works for you, but know that
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to always be like rigid about what you're doing,
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
if you bring it into being rigid, then you will, you might say, well, I'm a little disappointed with myself today because I didn't spend an hour
Mm-hmm.
doing it. But as long as whatever time you do have,
Mm-hmm.
that's all you have to put in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you wake up, I always say Modeh Ani in the morning. I thank God
Mm-hmm.
for waking me up and giving me my
Yes.
soul back. and then I do my washing my hands, and I do my bathroom prayer,
Yes.
and then I go on to shul, and I spend my hour and a half there and praying and
I
everything.
love that.
But on the way, I'm looking at the trees, I'm looking at the sun, I'm kind of thinking to myself, thank you, Hashem, for waking me up in this beautiful day that we're going to have. And then I do my daily word of the day.
Yes.
So,
good.
you get to say it's going to be a great day
Yes.
because we're going to make it a great day. And I continue to say that every
It's
day.
so good.
And I think the positive affirmations is definitely, if someone's not having a lot of time, I think we can both of us agree that positive affirmations is
it's
what
so
to do.
simple, but I think that there's also for a lot of people, when they're starting to integrate that into their lives, I've heard and I've understood this reflection from people that if they don't really feel that affirmation and they're just doing it to do it, there's like this dissonance, right? So it's like, what is that bridge between? And I think that it's all of the other acts of your life, and it's not about being perfect, and like it's not about the rigidity of like having this certain ritual a certain way and it needs to be on time, and like there's certain things that are a must, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it's like we know we're going to wake up and we're going to brush our teeth, or we're going to do our bathroom prayer. Like we each have those things, but to not make it overly complex, right? And that's why I like to call it my Bob the Builder toolkit. It's like I know when I need what tool,
you
right?
pull out the tool, pull out this today. I need these. I need 10 affirmations today, or I need to walk outside for an hour today.
Yep, and just having compassion and a lot of grace, and
definitely for yourself.
For ourselves, 100%.
It's so important because we look for that from other people. We look for compassion and grace. We want to give that to other people too. But if we don't do that for ourselves, we're the most important person in our lives, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't be a giver. You can't take care of anyone else. You can't show empathy and compassion to others. And then at the same time, like you said, spiritually, we're connected to the source, right? Hashem, the oneness. And a lot of people, they say, okay, well, they might not call it Hashem. They might call it the universe. They might call it oneness, or the spiritual, all-knowing being, whatever it is. I don't want that just because I'm Jewish and you're Jewish, just because someone might practice Judaism differently, or even any kind of faith. I don't want that to turn them off from what we're talking about. I think the most important thing is being in tune with yourself. Spiritually means being in tune with yourself and your body and your soul, and making that one. Because our soul is spiritual, right? It's not a physical thing that you can touch, you can see, but it's inside of us. It's our light, it's our eyes, it's our smile, it's the way we go about this world. And we're in this body, this physical world, and this physical body, and we're walking through this world and we're living, but eventually, our body will pass away. But our soul will continue on infinitely. Hopefully, that's what the idea is, right?
That's what I like to believe.
We should all believe that, honestly, because if you don't believe that, then you're not going to really think about being the best person you can be.
Right.
Because at the same time, yes, you want to make the most of this life. You want to have the best time you can have, right? But also, there's so many things that you can do as a spiritual person, knowing that there is a world beyond this, a world to come. So you're doing everything in this world to get to that world to come, right? You're trying to be a good person, a kind person, caring, compassionate, trying to give love so that you can get love, and then eventually, reach the highest of highs. This is a finite world that we're living in.
Right.
They say, I read, we live 60, 70 years or 80 if we have strength, right?
Right.
So, I'm not here to be the bearer of bad news, but me and you are about to be 35. So I'm thinking oh man,
we're halfway.
We're halfway. What are we doing?
But I have so much left to do.
Of course, no. Right? And again, we find as we grow older, our lives, I feel like they start kind of slowing down because we start appreciating it more, right? When we're young, we say, okay, I could stay out till 4:00 in the morning and wake up at 6 a.m. and then go work out and then go do this and that. And then the next night, same thing. But then when you're older, you start appreciating what's really important, right? Your family, right? Your faith, sunrises, sunsets, nature, your pets, everything that's important in this world, that building a family, building a network of people that you can go to, and your career, right? There's building a home, right, with your spouse and your partner. There's so many more things that we're now in tune to, and we have more appreciation, because unfortunately, as we get older, we had friends that maybe aren't our friends anymore. They, our past kind of go away. We don't do the same things. We have family members, unfortunately, that might pass away, older family members. Hopefully everyone lives to 120, but it's part of life. And so when people pass away, we have greater appreciation for life.
So true.
right? Because we see the life that they lived. Like, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why in Judaism, it's such a beautiful thing. We say, may their memory be a blessing,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because all the people in our lives that we had, that we knew for a time in our lives, that were part of us, that were family, even our friends, they have an impact.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what happens and they pass away, we still remember them for who
Always.
they were. And we
Absolutely.
remember them for the lessons they taught us and how they made us feel. And that's why it's so important that us as spiritual beings, what we do in this world is we're doing everything because we're trying to make people feel good.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, we make ourselves feel good, but then we make other people feel good.
People will always remember how you made them feel.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So tell us, we had some tools that you gave us for
Mm-hmm.
positivity. Now and you obviously told us about, how it's a process about positivity. Let's now bring it to prayer, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously, spirituality, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and religion,
Mm-hmm.
they're very connected,
Mm-hmm.
right? But not everyone, like you said, prays the same way. Not
Right.
everyone really like follows all the laws, all the teachings of
Mm-hmm.
Judaism or any faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you're a very spiritual person.
Yeah.
I can tell, and I know that you're connected. So tell us what prayer means to you and what faith means to you.
Absolutely. When I think of prayer and how it's woven into my life, because like I said, I don't consider myself to be devoted to one religion, right? That just wasn't what I felt so called to. And it was like, how is this going to look and feel for me, right? Because I want to have this sense of faith, and I want to believe that there is this higher power, and I want to believe in like the laws of nature, right? And I have such appreciation for all of that. So something that has been really beautiful for me to have this really great consistency and feel very tapped in and like connected to the rhythms of the earth is I love to have rituals that are aligned with the moon. So the moon cycles, especially more specifically the new and full moon,
Nice.
and the different rituals that I do for each are going to be unique based on the astrology of what's
Right.
happening during the time. But in that, there's such an amplified sense of devotion, and I love the cyclical nature of it. And it's something that I've been able to come back to so regularly because there's always a new moon or a full moon every 2 weeks,
Right.
essentially.
Exactly.
And again, without the rigidity of it, it's like I do this as I please, but it always will fall on one or the other. Um, it's really a beautiful way to set intentions for your life, especially with the new moon. You
Yeah.
think of it like a blank canvas.
Right.
That's when I really love to envision what am I calling into my life for this next month, right? And then whenever there's a full moon, usually it's a lot of crazy energy, so that's a great time to release and let go of what no longer serves you.
Right.
And in that, maybe it's not a prayer that's from a prayer book, but it's like there's are certain, I guess, prayers or things that I will do or say and rituals that I will perform that are so sacred to me. And they don't have to be anything like extra witchy or weird or anything like that. I've done a lot of moon circles with other women and men, and they're super fun and engaging. And just there's a lot of light and energy and like just a lot of beauty in that. And that's probably one of the most pivotal ways where I've been so consistent with something that to me feels akin to prayer when I am in shul and
Right.
I'm praying in temple, that it feels like that same, it's like plugging in,
Right.
right?
It's connection.
It's a
And
connection
that's, I
to
think,
God, to source, to
for sure.
universe.
I
Yes.
agree 100%. I think that's what I wanted to connect. You did it perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's a connection. It's plugging in, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what a connection is.
Mm-hmm.
You have yourself and you're out here in the world and you're moving around, and then you have the source, the oneness, Hashem, everything, and you're trying to connect it. And through prayer, you attune yourself to that. You quiet your mind, right? You set an intention.
Yeah, with meditation, it just made me think of that. I can't believe I didn't think of that. I've been
Exactly.
implementing a lot of
Oh,
meditation
good.
with Rob at night, right before we go to bed. And it's been so beautiful to share that. We do just find like a great guided meditation.
Right.
I love the app Insight Timer.
Right.
And it's just so simple. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated, it doesn't need to be a long, drawn out process. Keep it easy,
Yeah.
and keep it simple. And it's a beautiful way. We were talking about the chakras for a minute. That is all crown chakra. We were talking about the crown chakra specifically. That's your connection to spirit, your connection to God. And if somebody is feeling very unplugged from that, they're likely to be very cynical and
Pessimistic,
pessimistic and dissociative, even
right?
kind of manic. It just,
Recluse, even.
yeah, absolutely.
They want to just stay in their room, or they
Hmm.
think the whole world's against them, or
Yes,
that nothing
yes,
can go right.
right.
And then when those things happen, I think we honestly have to tap back into gratitude.
Hmm.
And, we have great friends, we have great
Hmm.
family, thank God.
Hmm.
And so I think what we need to do is tell people that if they don't have people like that, hopefully they do. If just one person, right? If you're not blessed to have abundance of family and friends, you probably have at least one person you could reach out to. And then if you don't, try to make friends, right? Try to join groups,
It's like,
try to,
be that one person for yourself
yeah,
first and foremost. Is
wow,
like, buy yourself the damn flowers, right?
right,
Show yourself that love, because you know what happens is, we were talking about energy, and you think about resonance, how light attracts light, how like attracts like. You will inevitably, it's like a bee to the flower, like that's like the sweet nectar is your beautiful energy, is a specific frequency. It's like turning the radio dial to a certain frequency, right? So
right,
we always have the ability to shift and change that. And yes, you can find a gazillion people who share similar thoughts, and have the same growth mindset as you. Depending on where you're at on your journey, there's so many ways online to connect with people.
right,
And I have to say that a lot of the people that I've become closest to in the adult years of my life have honestly been through online, and meeting women and going to women's retreats, and starting my own thing. When I had my crystal squad, I called them,
right,
or
I
people that would
remember,
show up every week for my live sales on
right,
Instagram. But we became very, very close. And a lot of these
right,
women I've met and hugged and shared time and space with in real life. And it's like, your people are out there.
yeah,
They're waiting for you.
yeah,
So I think that it's such an important message, because when people are feeling very lonely, it's like, I think there's such a difference between loneliness and aloneness,
right,
right? And there's richness in aloneness,
of
and
course,
being at peace and in love with who you are.
yeah,
And it doesn't need to be every single moment. There's moments where we need to have compassion for ourselves, and like I said, when we're feeling lesser than, but it's like knowing that that's fleeting, that that's momentary. You can love yourself there too. And there's always going to be people who will meet you on your journey, right? And paths will cross. So yeah, it's very important to put yourself out there. Don't be scared.
yeah, don't be scared, guys. There's so many resources. I'm gonna link Brooke's Instagram
Hmm.
after, and she's has amazing people on her Instagram as well. And you can
Hmm.
reach out to Brooke or me whenever you guys need.
Yes.
There's so many people that can be out there, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there, right? A lot of
Hmm.
the people think, oh, I don't want to expose my problems. I don't want to say I'm going through
Right.
something, but it takes that, yeah,
Vulnerability.
you have to be
And
vulnerable. You have to
yeah,
kind of put yourself out there,
yeah,
and don't be afraid to get hurt, because at the same time, if you don't do that, then you're going to just continue to fall deeper and deeper into a state of, despair or depression
right.
that maybe you won't, God forbid, ever get out of.
Yeah,
But at the same time, you would never know until you ask, and you never know until you reach out to someone what they're going through, because everyone's
so
going
true.
through something.
Exactly.
We all, like you said, we all have struggles. Like,
Hmm.
the reason that me and you are who we are today and the lights we are is because we had deep struggles in our lives,
Hmm.
whether relationships, family,
Hmm.
work, school, things
Hmm.
in our lives that happened, and they happen to everyone. Everyone's dealing with
Absolutely.
baggage and carrying a weight
Hmm.
with them. But, as we grow in our spirituality and as we grow as people, you know, mentally, physically, emotionally, we kind of like let some of that go. Like, I
Hmm.
would akin it to, we're balloons, right? And we
Hmm.
have all these weights on us, and like,
Mm.
this happened to you, and
Mm.
this happened to you, and this happened to you, and they're weights. And like, as we grow spiritually and we go into enlightenment and we go into gratitude and positivity, we're cutting the string and
Right.
cutting the string and cutting the string. And sooner or later, we're
We're
floating up above.
levitating.
Yeah, we're feeling
That's
this
it.
levitation, and we're walking
Yes.
around the world with a smile and a happiness
Hmm.
and a light. And people are like, wow, you're radiating today.
Right.
Or, you said an amazing message, or you really connected with me today, or you actually taught me something.
Hmm.
And that's really what I aim to do. And I know you aim to do the same thing. We're
Absolutely.
trying to connect people. We're trying to wake them up from the slumber of mediocrity, right? We want to be our excellent selves.
Yep.
Me and you were perfectionists,
Yes.
and I think with perfectionists, sometimes we can be hard on ourselves as well.
Undeniably.
Right? So maybe we have to work on not being so perfect or trying to be so perfect,
Right.
forgiving ourselves, because I believe Hashem, he is forgiving, he is
Hmm.
compassionate, he gives us grace, he gives us mercy, and all these things that he gives to us, we have a piece of Hashem inside of us. So then that is what we should give to ourselves, right? And then in turn,
Always.
give it to others.
On that, I think that one of the best anecdotes to perfectionism is just taking action.
Yep.
Let it be messy. It's like just
Right.
taking action.
Right.
And that's what I've seen in what you're doing with this podcast, your word of the day, everything. And I remember the first time that it was shared in a group chat that I'm in. I'm like, somebody put me in that chat. I need to be in that. And I love so much that you're doing that. And that's, so yeah, I think for myself being such a multifaceted entrepreneur and wanting things to look a certain way and to evoke a certain feeling, the best thing that's just gotten me through is actually doing the things and
Right.
not micromanaging every single little thing and not being a control freak.
Exactly.
It's a
It's like
good
just
lesson.
put it out there, like you said. With
Yeah.
me, I don't even have a script in the morning. I kind of like think about the word, and then I just go for it. And I use things that the themes I find myself saying is kind, caring, compassionate. Gratitude, being faithful, being light, love. All the most important things that I want to radiate in this world, and I want to feel. And so I say them, and then as I've grown in my religious religious journey, I've like listened to the parsha that we have every week. We have a story in Judaism from the
Yes.
Torah,
Yes.
and so I kind of connect it. So actually, I want to share a little parsha that we just
Yes,
had.
please do.
Yeah, it was the life of Sarah, and we just had the life of Sarah. And Sarah was 127 years old when she passed away, and the Torah writes it. She was 100, she was 20, she was 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years, meaning that at 100 years she had the innocence of a 20-year-old. Like basically at when 20, hopefully we're not full of sin.
Right.
But I guess we were high school kids back
We
then.
grew up in Miami, listen.
Exactly. So I can't speak for a 20-year-old in Miami, but usually a 20-year-old is very innocent, right? They
Right.
haven't really done a lot of things in their life.
So much life left to live.
Exactly.
For sure.
So they're very innocent. So at 100, she had a 20-year-old sin of sin. And at 20 years old, she had the beauty of a 7-year-old.
Wow.
Basically, like, she still was like very young looking and
that youthfulness. Yeah.
youthfulness, right? So they say like that. And then actually, that's the only time they mention her life in that parsha. The whole right after that, it's Avraham, her husband, eulogizing her, speaking about how great of a person she was and, how much she meant to him and everything like that. And so what we learn from this is that even in death, people that are righteous, that are compassionate, that are caring, that do the right thing, that are spiritual, that are connected, they live on forever.
That's so true.
And through her and Avraham, we're here, the Jews.
Yes.
Right? And so there are great, 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 great grandparents, right? And we're all from them. But that's what we have to understand as humans, right? As human beings, what's our legacy going to be?
I was just thinking of the
right?
word.
What are we going to leave after our bodies leave the earth? We're all dust. At the end of the day, we have to think about it. We're all dust. We're small speck on this big earth. We're in this big universe, millions and billions of stars and galaxies and maybe other life here and there, who knows? But at the same time, we're blip. There's millennia that has gone through.
We go down this rabbit hole. It's the best conversation and the trippiest.
Yeah. We can talk about it. I mean, I want to
it.
also connect to how, you mentioned astrology. You're really big into astrology.
Yes.
So can you explain, and the moon cycles, right?
Yes.
So in Judaism, we follow two calendars. We follow the moon cycle and we follow the the sun calendar, right?
Yes.
Every Saturday, from Friday night to Saturday night, it's Shabbat, no matter what. But that's a 365. But then we also have the lunar calendar, where every the Jewish calendar is actually 13 months.
Correct. The 13 months.
So the 13 months we have, all the different Jewish calendar months, and then basically every month it's called Rosh Chodesh, which is a new month, and that's when the new moon comes. Correct. And so 7 days, between 7 and 14 days after that, we actually bless the moon. So we do a prayer on the moon. Yes. So it's connected. So just explain a little bit about astrology, because I know that there were 12 tribes and there's 12 horoscopes, right?
Right.
So explain a little bit.
And then there's the 13th sign that some people look into, but really I really consider mainly the 12, because I work with Western astrology.
Right.
And with Western astrology, we really focus on the sun and our seasons. So there's the 12 different signs, and between the 12 different signs, there's the 4 elements: fire, earth, air, and water.
Right.
And there's also called the three modes, and the three modes describe the energy of each of these signs. So
Mm-hmm.
there's cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs. Now, with cardinal, that's like the spark of fire. Imagine you just like ignite like you light up a match, right? Then right, and then the fixed signs. These are going to be the signs that what. Let me backtrack with the cardinal. When you think of that first spark of flame, uh, it's an ignition. It's like
Right.
these are the signs that are the beginning of each season. Okay. Then the signs that are fixed, these are the middle of a season, and they really are the signs that are the most tried and true of like if it's fire, you think of like Leo, and it's like that's a true fire sign. It's not anything but that. But then with the mutable, these are they align these signs with the end of a season.
Right.
So it's like the dissipating from one season to the next. So you think of how it's like from autumn to winter. I mean, we don't experience that here,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but if we're a little more north, that shift in the season, and it's like it could be that one sign, but it almost is turning into something else
Right.
that also then describes like I'm Pisces, and Pisces is a mutable water sign.
Right.
So although I'm definitely have this personality that would be very akin to what is Pisces, they're very spiritual and compassionate and creative beings. There's more specifically with Pisces, it's the final sign of the zodiac. So it's almost like it has a little bit of all of it before it, which really fits with it being immutable. It's like it could be a little bit of something else too. So in essence, I love the whole study of astrology. I really have loved throughout the years. I really started to have a piqued interest in it, honestly, as far back as when I was in middle school.
Yeah.
And that started with like just looking at horoscopes, which I don't really, I'm not into horoscopes. I go a bit deeper than that. But that's where the curiosity started. Then I started to look at my chart, started
Mm-hmm.
to study my chart,
Mm-hmm.
started to study the charts of my family,
Right.
started to study the charts of my friends,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And what I have really gained from this wisdom and using it as a tool is really being able to gain greater perspective on my life, and to also then help others gain perspective on their life and what's going on for them at the present moment, but
Right.
through the study of the stars.
Yeah.
And it's such an incredible language. It really is like learning Italian or learning Hebrew. It's like it truly is learning a language. And I love to refer to it, especially when I have events that are going on in my life, even predictive. I'm laughing because at my wedding, Rob he said the most beautiful things during our ceremony, and his vows were just immaculate. But one of the things that made me laugh was he was like, you damn near predicted when we were going to get engaged. Wow. And it's so true. Like
Yeah.
I had a hunch, and then I started to look at the astrology, and there were so many alignments that I called, Michelle Fine.
Yeah.
I called Michelle. I'm like, somebody needs to hear me say this. And she's also very much an astrologer and passionate about it like I am. So I was like, you have to see this. And I was like, so I'm not the only one who knew that I was looking at this.
Cool.
It's just like, it's a fun tool. I mean, that's just a really funny way, but I've also used it for much more serious things when myself or others have gone through really maybe traumatic experiences, breakups, losses, whatever it is.
Right.
And being able to utilize that as a tool to gain perspective, it's a very humbling thing, and it also is very calming and soothing, and it gives meaning to all of these events in our lives.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. It makes a lot of sense. And I think honestly, a lot of people look kind of into horoscopes or just reading, what's a horoscope of the day or whatever, or maybe they know what their sign is and then they just read like one thing about what their sign is.
But it's so surface level, and that's why
exactly.
I don't necessarily, I'm not a huge fan of horoscopes, and I don't recommend them because we are so much more than our sun sign.
Right.
Like I said, yes, I could be very much a Pisces, but there's a whole chart.
There's sun, there's moon, there's rising, right? There's
all these. Well, there's every planet was in a specific position when you were born,
right?
And then each day there's a shift in the planets. Each moment, even there's a shift, right? So I like to layer. I look at what's called a transit chart. You have your natal chart, your birth chart in the center, and then you have the transit chart on the outside, and you're able to see. It's like a whole cool. I like to call it a pizza pie. It's like you have this whole pie chart essentially, and you're able to look at it and it's like a mathematical equation of sorts, and you're able to kind of piece together this beautiful story.
Yeah.
So I have fun being a weaver of these tapestries of stories,
Cool.
right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we all have a story, right? And I think that it's such an honor and a privilege that so many people have come to me and still continue to regularly, to be able to look at their chart and to kind of help glean insight, so that not only I have certain clients that come to me and I do a kind of like a preparatory, uh, it's like a whole presentation that I do. It's an hour long, and I record what's going on for them for the entire month,
Wow.
and where all the planets are shifting and moving and how it's activating their chart in specific ways. Then I have a specific reading for the new and full moon. I give them a full beautiful thing of notes designed on Canva. It's like, I'm so passionate about that, and I love that people have used that as a resource and tool, because they're able to really live their lives with so much more intention.
Right.
And for me, that's what it all comes down to, because
Right.
we have so many different tools out there, whether you're like into numerology or you're into human design or you're into astrology. Like, there's so many cool tools out there. But I think that when we can derive purpose from that and bring more purpose into our lives through that, it's all like, that's what it's all about.
Exactly. I love what you said, purpose. I'll take it to, religion. Basically, when you were created, you're basically, Hashem doesn't make mistakes. Everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is designed from the beginning of time. When
Mm-hmm.
Hashem created the Torah, created Adam and Eve, all the way to the end, he already predicted everything that's going to happen. That's what we believe. So I think when I know actually what happens when you or me or anyone was born, at that moment, Hashem said the world cannot exist without you in it. So if we think about that, that's what our purpose in this world. We have a purpose, because
Mm-hmm.
you can never, the world can't exist without you here. So as long as you are still here, you have a purpose. And that's why I think it is important to be positive, and we can tap back into positivity. If you're going through something, just
Mm-hmm.
remember, there's a reason you're here. There's a reason you're going through whatever
Mm-hmm.
struggle you're going through, whatever obstacle you're having.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it is a blessing, there is a reason you're getting that blessing at the time you're getting it.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to always believe that. And if we always believe that in our minds, and we know that, it's not just a belief. There's a difference between believing and knowledge, right? A
Mm-hmm.
belief is, I think it's true because this has to be proven and this has to be
Mm-hmm.
proven. And then
Mm-hmm.
if I see this happen, then I'll believe. Okay, that's great. But knowing is like, no matter what is happening,
There's that certainty.
it's a certainty,
Mm-hmm.
right? Belief comes from hypothesizing and science and
Mm-hmm.
saying, okay, I
Mm-hmm.
think that if I push this object, I believe it will fall this direction because, momentum and
Mm-hmm.
whatever, physics and all that stuff. But, it comes back to now knowledge of Hashem is knowing that he created you for a
It's a
reason.
deep-seated truth.
Yeah.
It's unshakable.
And knowing that
Yeah.
he put everything in your life the way it
Mm-hmm.
should be.
Mm-hmm.
And wherever you're at in your life is where you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what happens to you, it's always for your benefit. We have to know that. And if you do have that knowledge, then you will never have a bad day. And you will know that every single day is a new day. Every single day, every single moment is renewing itself. And so people should not be stuck. I want people to hear this and understand that, whatever they're going through, whatever struggle they're having,
Mm-hmm.
embrace it.
Yeah.
Embrace your struggle.
Yeah.
Make your struggle your superpower. I was speaking to Sarah Kiba about this,
Yes.
and she was one of the first guests on my podcast, and she said an amazing thing: my struggle is my superpower.
It's so
And it's
powerful.
such
I
a
love that.
powerful thing, because if you just shift your mindset. It's perspective. It's a lens that we're looking at this world through.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it with a cynical, depressed, distressed lens, or you can be positive and optimistic and joyful. And obviously, happiness is an emotion, and sadness is an emotion. You're going to feel those things when things are happening to you,
Mm-hmm.
and there's external factors that are happening. But at the same time, if your foundation is positivity and gratitude, and knowledge of the universe being for your benefit, then you will always be able to kind of weave through the challenges and struggles and overcome them, and
Correct.
ultimately grow and learn.
That is the fertile soil from which our lives can grow upon. Because without that type of mindset, you truly, I've seen it so many times in my life where there's just people who are stuck in that victim mentality. And
Right.
that's why I said at the beginning of this that it's almost difficult to teach these things, although we can absolutely educate and we can share our light and our positivity and our mindset. But it really has to come from within.
Right.
Somebody having that sense of dedication, somebody having that sense of devotion, right? And that's why I love everything that you're sharing here, and really picking apart, like, what does it look like for people when it comes to prayer, and how do you feel about positivity, right? Because there is like this beautiful science to it, right? And there are ways to express and share that,
Right.
but there are still so many people who struggle and suffer, but choose to continue
Yeah.
in on that path.
Right.
And
It's
my
sad.
heart, yeah, my heart really goes out to humanity, the parts of humanity that are so torn and broken in
Right.
those ways, because I have been through such horrors, and for me to have survived the things that I have survived, to have traversed these really dark nights of the soul, I know what that feels like.
Of course.
But like I said, I don't feel like I could ever be that kind of person who's stuck in that perpetual struggle, or that victim mentality.
Right.
I'm hardwired differently.
Definitely.
So I really pray for those people, and I have such compassion for those people who don't often see the light.
Right.
But I do know, and it's beyond belief, it's my knowledge and my wisdom, that there always is a way. There always is that like light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
And it doesn't even need to be the end of the tunnel. It could be today, right? And
Right.
that's why I say, like, each day is a gift, and we don't have to look at our struggles as this really like diminishing, depressing thing.
Right.
So anytime I'm going through our time, I similarly, I really aim to glean wisdom. And that's why I mentioned earlier, like, I have this kind of I like, it's like a mountaintop perspective. If you like imagine you're all the way up here and you're looking down upon your life, and you, or even if it's, if like you were speaking to a friend, and it's so easy to give advice to a friend, right? It's like, imagine what that would feel like if you could give that love and advice to yourself
Right.
often, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you have the affirmations. I think the
Yeah,
affirmations is the
absolutely.
love to yourself, is the talking to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing these affirmations, you're doing words of gratitude and affirmation, you're talking to yourself. And it's so funny. I started doing the affirmations and the gratitude
Mm-hmm.
on 8/8, the Lionsgate
Yes,
portal when it
yes,
opened up.
yes.
I sat down and I wrote to
Beautiful.
myself. I wrote myself a note, 2 pages about what in the future, me talking to myself in
Good,
the
good. Yep.
future, a year
Love
from
that.
now. And
Love
so
that.
August 8th, 2025, I'm going to read it. And, I'm not going to really share, it's personal, what's
Very
in there.
personal and private, but that's
But,
beautiful.
I imagine where I am with a family, and,
Yes.
where I am in my career, and where I am
Yes.
with my friends, and where I am, growing in my religion and my spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
and, where I see myself, and actually like put them in present tense and say, you
I
are
love
this,
that you're
you are
doing that.
that,
It's
you are,
one of my favorite things to do,
and
honestly.
I want to read it actually soon, but I don't, I'm keeping it in my
Wait, it's a
drawer.
beautiful letter to
You have
yourself.
to read it when the time's right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we're going through that process, these affirmations and this gratitude, we're awakening ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
we're setting these intentions, and then we're manifesting, right?
Correct.
So talk about manifestation for us,
Yes.
please.
I actually just saw somebody wrote on their Facebook wall today, she wrote, manifestation is not magic. And I thought that that was so interesting, and it really caught my attention, because it's not this like woo woo magic thing. It's not
It's
like a
not an
magic,
overnight.
it's not a magic trick.
No, it's
It's
not a
not
wand.
at all.
Doesn't happen right instantly either.
Manifestation has so much to do with our devotion to our sense of spirituality or prayer or whatever it looks like for you.
Right.
There is a science to manifestation.
Definitely.
And one of the things that you just shared is an absolutely very clear and simple way to be able to manifest. If somebody wants to, if you want to grab a journal, you can get a brand new one that inspires you. I really love that concept of writing to your future self. And you could do this every day, not just on the Lionsgate portal or not just your birthday. Like, don't wait for the perfect day or the perfect opportunity. You could literally do this each day and see how that energy picks up and amplifies, right? Because what you're doing when you're writing in this future state, in this, you're writing things that maybe are not all true for you right now, but they're visions that you have for your life. You are calling that closer and closer to you, because at the end of the day, like, if we're able to visualize it and dream it, we
Right.
can be that, right?
100%.
So I really I really love the works of Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Mm-hmm.
And with Joe Dispenza, there's a quote that I've had at my father's house when I was living there. I had these really big mirrors for on my closet doors,
Right?
and I used to take these dry erase markers
Okay,
in
you're
all
writing on
different
the
colors, and I
mirror.
would write on the mirror. I'd do
Amazing.
tons of positive affirmations, but I had this one quote, and I can't quote the whole thing, but it was basically what it felt like to me was like the lock and key to manifestation. And it has a lot to do with elevated emotion. So when you're in this state of prayer or writing in your journal or whatever it is that you're doing, really visualizing this
Right.
so much so that you can feel
Yeah,
that
feel what it
sweetness,
is.
you could
Yeah,
feel that positivity, you could
exactly.
feel that joy and that elation, whatever it is that that you're dreaming of. So
Right.
having that elevated emotion, having of course this set intention, and really weaving that all together with whatever the ritual is that you're doing, and like bringing action to it, that's like the secret sauce right
For
there. It
sure.
doesn't need to be this crazy, complex spell, right? It's
Right.
not something that needs to be ultra witchy or woo
Yeah, you
woo,
don't have
right?
to like go,
No, no,
ah,
no, no,
make
no.
it happen.
Yeah, and because at the end of the day, we're all so unique, and I think that the thing that's going to be the most powerful for us is like our own magic, and like what
Right.
does that mean and look like for you? And that's why it's also important to look on within your community or look online, and who are the people that you resonate and that you
Right.
want to learn from, right? So at the end of the day, like there's just so many great tools and tips, but I love that you did that because it's
Yeah.
something that is so personal, is a
Yeah.
part of my journey too.
Exactly. And I actually I was hearing about, do it and then do it with intention and do
Mm-hmm.
the feeling and everything. And so I was feeling it and I was smiling
Mm-hmm.
while I was doing it. I was feeling it. And so like, I imagine my wedding and like I'm thinking about it and just like how I'm gonna feel looking at my wife walking up to
Yes.
me at the
Yes.
chuppah and my family and my friends around and just like all their smiles and all their lights and eventually with my family when I have a kid and everything, I was trying to envision it all and like really, really take into myself how it make me feel. And obviously that's all I want in this world right now, where I'm at is I want a family, I want a soulmate, I want to, children. I want to teach everything to them and, be there. I want to be the giver, the provider, what a man's supposed to be. And I want my
Yes.
wife to be the light and the nurturer and, the home builder and everything. So, I think that that's so important for anyone out there who's whatever your goal is, whatever your dreams are, just write them down because, like
Mm-hmm.
Brooke said, you have to visualize them first before they can even materialize. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the best thing about manifestation that anyone who's writing it down or saying things over and over to themselves, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I
Mm-hmm.
am this, I am that. You eventually become those things, right?
Yes.
Subconsciously, you start believing it, right? You say it enough, you're going to believe
Correct.
it, and then you'll see that you're taking steps in your life that this happens to you or you make this choice because life is
Mm-hmm.
all about choices, right?
Always.
We have a
Always.
choice to do whatever we want. We can lay in bed all day or we can wake up and we can write affirmations. We can wake up and go out into the world and have a career. We can wake up and give and give charity. We can go and
Mm-hmm.
like try to help homeless. We could try to
Mm-hmm.
help people that are in need. We can go be with our spouse,
Mm-hmm.
start a family with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's life is what you make it, right? We're living this
Absolutely.
life and you think that someone's unfortunately no one's going to save you and it
No.
takes you
These
and
are all of our
it's
choices,
all your
always.
choice and it's you to take care of yourself
Mm-hmm.
before anything. And so whatever that is for you, find that, and like for us, we've gone through a lot of things and
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people that are watching this probably have gone through things. But at the same time, as long as you're breathing, as long as you're still living this life and God gave you this chance to wake up every single morning, don't take it for granted. Do
Mm-hmm.
whatever you can in your life to make it better. And just because you're going through something doesn't mean that life has to stop and your life is over
Mm-hmm.
because you still are breathing. You still are having that chance.
Yes.
And don't ever take it for granted. And again, like I
No,
said,
each day is a gift. Yeah.
each day is a gift. And also we have to know that we should be able to reach out to people. And you might find yourself right now and I want to bring it to, okay, let's bring it to the person.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk to the person right now,
Mm-hmm.
Brooke, that is going through something that's
Mm-hmm.
devastating to
Mm-hmm.
them. I don't want to say anything bad, but let's just think about it. The most
Mm-hmm.
devastating thing that someone can be going through, because everyone's going through something different,
Mm-hmm.
you know, family, relationship,
Mm-hmm.
work, money, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is,
Mm-hmm.
house, anything that's happening in their lives. someone just went through something completely devastating.
Mm-hmm.
What can we talk to them? How can we help them right
Mm-hmm.
now? Give them some tips and some, some positivity and some gratitude and, some
I was
spirituality.
just going to speak into
Let's
gratitude
do that.
because even in this week, I had a moment where I was crying with Rob, and he's like, of course, is my husband, one of those people that I could be so vulnerable with because I'm often such a pillar of strength for my family and my community.
Right.
Not a lot of people see me in that space of vulnerability, and
Right.
it's not because I'm afraid of being vulnerable. I'm an open book pretty much, but
Yeah.
I was having one of those moments this week, and even through that pain and the frustration that I was feeling, the sadness that I was feeling, I still then, even through my explaining of everything that I was feeling to him, I was still noting the things that I was grateful for, because when I could still have gratitude for the little things, like having clean water, having food to eat, having a roof over my head, having my lover by my side, it's like these are things that are often taken for granted.
Right.
So with that energy of appreciation, it doesn't cost a dang thing to have a sense of gratitude each
Yeah.
day. So having a really solid gratitude practice, if that's something that you've never tried, maybe writing down 5 to 10 things that you're grateful for. But the other thing is thinking about why. Why are you grateful for that? So you can really expand in that energy of gratitude, not just like, I'm grateful for my food. I'm grateful for my cat and my dog. Like, I'm sure you are, but why, right?
Right.
So getting a little bit to the nitty gritty and like
Love
getting
it.
underneath the belly of that, because if you can focus on that, that energy will expand, right?
Right.
So will it fix all your problems overnight? No. And I'm not going to ever lie and say that it will, but it shifts your energy.
Right.
So, again, bringing it back to the energy, it's that conversation of shifting our energy, because I know that for me, I don't want to then wake up the following morning, or I don't even want to go to sleep that night with that energy. So you bet that I turn on a meditation that night and I really helped recalibrate my energy,
Right.
right?
It is energy. Like you said,
It
I think
truly
anyone
is.
who's going through a struggle or something that they feel is devastating, we're feeling grief, we're feeling despair, we're feeling sadness, we're feeling like a weight that's
Mm-hmm.
pushing down on us that
Yes.
we feel like we're very low. But at the same time, that's an energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do something that you love that will bring you out of that energy. Some
Right.
people like to dance, some people like to go outside and scream, some people want to, scream into a pillow, some people want to walk around, call
Right.
a friend.
Right.
There's so many things that you can do that will get you out of that state. Watch a movie, listen to music, do a meditation. I think these are all things and tools that people
Those are
can
such
use.
practical tips and
It's
tools. And I
practical.
love that you're bringing up, because I haven't spoken much about it yet, but I created this little mini course that is going to pretty much weave the our moon signs. So each, like we were talking about how we're so much more than our sun sign, right?
Right.
Everybody knows probably just their sun sign if they don't know about astrology, but
Right.
the moon was also in a specific sign when you were
Mm-hmm.
born. So for me, I have a moon in Taurus. That's it's a fixed Earth energy.
Right.
So I created this little mini course to discuss what your moon sign is and how to help process feelings like grief and depression and sadness, and what specific action steps would work really well for you based on your moon
Yeah.
sign. So I'm excited. One day I'll definitely be sharing that.
God
It's
willing.
yeah, part of a bigger thing that I'm working on in the future. I think that something that's really near and dear to me with my purpose is I want to share more with people who go through a lot of these struggles, and more specifically with grief. So in the future, one of my bigger goals is I'd love to create a grief course online,
Right.
and have a community that I create through that. So this mini course is something that I created just so that I have it as kind of like a teaser to
Right.
that in the future. But I am bringing that up because there's a lot of those practical tips and tools that I think that a lot of people don't really take action on
Right.
with, or like know when to do that
I
thing,
think
right?
it's just start with something,
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm in this rat race, I'm in this struggle that is, continue this mistake that happens or this bad thing that
Mm-hmm.
continues to happen to me and I don't know how to get out of it."
Mm-hmm.
It really starts with just that one positive step in the right direction,
Yeah.
It's like kind of like a snowball. You want a positive snowball that's
Mm-hmm.
continuing to grow, or you want a negative snowball that's continuing to grow. And how do you stop it? you know, you gotta have to, you know, put a barrier here. And the barrier is that practicality, that practical tool that you can do. And there's so many things that you can do. So I want people to be able to reach out to, you know, whoever they want and know that it's out there. And so with social media these days, I feel, and I want to bring it into social media because you're big on social media. I'm big on social media. We have people that we know that are big there. I think social media is such a great tool for people to use. And obviously, there's a lot of bad things on social media, unfortunately. But I feel like people sometimes need to do like a cleanse on social media.
Absolutely.
And not just a cleanse.
Highly recommended.
Right? Like, I'm not telling you a cleanse. Like, it's good to use it because there's a lot of positivity there. I follow prayer Instagram pages. I follow your page.
There's so many beautiful.
I follow affirmation pages.
Absolutely.
You know, take yourself away from the card chases and the news pages, and the girl pages, and the sports pages, and, you know, obviously all the garbage in this world, and just bring it. That's what I'm saying about a cleanse, right? And obviously, limit your time. It's very important that you limit your time and you go to
There are ways in the settings to actually, on any of the main apps, you can go through the settings, and there's ways to help where it will notify you when you've been on for whatever set amount of time.
Right.
Because it's like having a healthy boundary. That's what it's
all
about.
Boundaries are so important. And, you know, obviously we can't do too much of anything is a bad thing, no matter what. You know, too much of anything is a bad thing. That's why we have to have a balance. Life is a balance. But what I'm saying with the cleanse is, you know, go through your social media page and see what you're following, what you're actually following. And then kind of like say, all right, this doesn't serve me anymore. You know what? There was a time in my life that all I wanted to do was look at, you know, places, and not, it's like whatever, going places, like traveling places. Those are good things, but also it kind of made me maybe say, well, I'm not happy with where I am now because I want to be here.
Because the grass is always greener somewhere else, right?
Right.
But whatever it is that inspires you, really. Like, because when I do go on social media, it really feels like my own personalized newsfeed. And I don't often feel super bogged down by it, where it's a challenging or triggering thing for me. And if it is triggering you, then that's when you want to survey the situation and you want to see who is it that you're following, and working with the algorithm that it could be more in your own favor.
And Instagram's actually doing I don't know if everyone knows this, but Instagram's doing a new thing where they're actually resetting your algorithm. So if you feel like your algorithm is, you know, too much of this or too much of that, or maybe, you know, you're feeling triggered when you turn on social media, use it, you know. Or if something comes up on your social media and you don't want to see it anymore, there's a function where you could say block, or you know, limit or restrict, and take that action, right? It's that first step that you can do, and it's a really important tool. Just like, God forbid, you have a person in your life that's toxic, right? Or you have a relationship that's not going well. You have to think about yourself. The most important person is you. Going to sleep happy, waking up happy, living your life happy. And when I say happy, I mean being fulfilled and being content, and being, you know, like grateful with everything you have. And so if something's happening to you that you feel like is bringing you in a wrong direction or weighing you down, try to limit it.
You've got energy vampires. You got to
just eliminate it
and be at peace with that, because and that's a part of growing.
You're doing something good for yourself,
and being more conscious of your energy and being protective of your energy and your sacred spaces in life, right? Definitely. And I look at the interwebs as, for me, it can be a sacred space, but it also could be anything but that, right? So it really is up to us to have that discernment. And I'm really big on energetic boundaries, especially for somebody who lives a life with so much intention and presence and being so spiritual. That's a huge piece of it, is energetic boundaries.
Definitely. Energy is vibes, right?
Always.
They actually say that they looked into the atoms and the molecules in us and the DNA, and they went quarks and neurons and protons. And then when they got to like the smallest thing, it was just vibrations, energy vibrations. So, you know, I don't want to get too crazy and spiritual and far out.
Meta,
but, you know, everything we see is an illusion.
It's so
to
true.
be honest.
It's true.
And it's an illusion. It's just like vibrating, and like everything is vibrating. And so like this chair, this couch, you know, these pillows, us, we're vibrations. And that's why when you walk into a room, you say, oh, I feel a good vibe. Or you walk into a room and you're like, oh, I feel a bad vibe, because that's what it is. It's a vibration. So, you know, you always want to try to exude a good vibe. And if you're not in a place where you're getting a good vibe or you're feeling a good vibe, you know, change your energy, change your situation, change where you're at. go to a different location. There's bodies of water that are calming. There's you could ground yourself in the grass or in the sand, or you can go next to a tree under the shade.
Yes.
There's so many great things you can do, and I think it's so important. So before we end, I want you to please explain how we can reach out to you,
Yes.
because I think it's super important that people know how to reach out to you. And so we'll connect Brooke's Instagram below, but I wanted her to explain a little bit more about what she does and how you can reach out to her and your different websites if you have.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, you can reach out to me online, especially on Instagram. That's my favorite place to play. May the courts be with you. So it's the acronym, which is MTQBWY. People always mess that one up because it's a very weird, jumbled up letters. So once Rob made a little jingle with me, it's MTQBWY.
Nice.
So may the courts be with you. That is my brand, and that's definitely so much of my purpose is woven into this work. And it's been a lot of things. My business. I most recently closed my crystal shop. I did that for many years, and that was such a beautiful way where I was connected to my purpose. But what I love about what I've created with my brand is that it's continuing to evolve with me.
Right.
And it's really like this umbrella under which I can do all these magical things. So more recently, I'm doing a little bit more work out in the community with one of my friends. I was just telling you that I'm working a lot with Jeremy Abramson. In this new year, we're going to be co-hosting. I'll be collaborating with him on these ceremonies in person in Miami, where I'll be doing sound healing. I get to share some of my essential oils, and I get to bring my crystals if I'd like. And I also share one of my favorite tools right now is something called Happy Juice.
Yeah.
And I've been working with a company named Amare. They're a mental wellness company. That's something that I'm extremely passionate about, the topic of mental wellness in general. And Happy Juice is just one of their most well-known and loved products.
Right.
So it's a juice, and it's amazing. Basically, how it works is it's a probiotic-rich juice that you make with water and a couple powders. But those specific strains of probiotics help to boost serotonin and dopamine within the gut. And I'm so glad that I'm actually bringing this up because I didn't think about it before. But
Good.
This whole conversation is about happiness
Right.
and positivity,
Raising
right?
those levels.
And for those people who are struggling and have a hard time envisioning anything positive for their life, you have to think about what's happening within your gut.
Right.
And it's very
Super
much
true.
a science thing.
Yeah,
so
your gut talks to your brain.
the gut-brain axis,
it all
we
goes
call it.
together. It's like one.
So that's something that I'm
line.
sharing there as well. And it has incredible lion's mane mushrooms in there. So it helps with your cognitive function. I mean, I'm really passionate about that. So if you're interested in that, and if you know somebody who's struggling, definitely reach out to me to ask me more about that. If you don't have an astrologer and you would like one, I would love to help you in that way. And if you're in South Florida and you want a portrait photographer, I specifically work with families and creative entrepreneurs.
Amazing. Anything before we leave the people?
Thank you so much for having me. This has been such an enriching conversation. Definitely one of my favorite. And I love you very much. And I love you too.
I love you so much, Brooke. Thank you so much. I think everyone got great insights. And we'll see you guys next time on The Power of Positivity and Prayer. Take care. Thank you. Amazing.
Yeah.